In this video, I'm going to go over treasure routing, everything from A to Z for how to learn treasure. And the first thing I'm going to go over is that you're usually starting from here and looting the ramparts, or starting from down here and going up. If you're starting from down here, the idea is to get to that bridge where the gold blocks are. You want to break 2 blocks away from this edge, or you want to build up 2 blocks away from this edge. If you need to, you can break this block. That way piglins can't actually stand there. And do whatever, and then commence your treasure route. So the first part of the route is that you have to break this block and jump to that gold block. There's a few ways to do this. You can do the note block, or I'll go over the block jumps first. First one is just this, and then you place these 2 blocks to prevent piglins from standing up there. Second one looks pretty similar. It's a little less good for piglin pathing, but you can do this. The only problem is these guys like to jump up here and push each other off. And lastly, I'll go over the no block jump. Blockless one is a little bit harder. You have to make a 4 block jump. And you go like that, shift over the back edge, so that if you shift over the back edge, these guys like to path onto these blocks. And then there's also the lava jump. So you can save blocks by placing lava here, so that they can't get to you. You break this block, pick up the lava. We'll just use our imagination now. I'm picking up the lava. Jump here, and place the lava there. Or you can, yeah, that's pretty much where you should be placing it. And then you aggro by, well, you break this block. The other thing I'm going to go over on the treasure break is Piglin Punch. If you don't know, there has been recent technology or tech discoveries about punching piglins with tier 1 locking and stuff like that. I won't go over it in this video, I'll go over it in a different video. But if you don't know that, you can leave a comment in the description and I will respond to you on explaining it. Anyway, once you break this block and break this block, you should be punching a piglin. Now, I recommend this for 3 of the 4 routes that I'm going over. However, if you're doing Crookst boomer, this isn't really necessary in my testing, punching the piglin. It's also a little bit risky, so if you punch a sword pig, you're pretty much bound to die, so I'd recommend only doing this if you can punch a crossbow piglin. Now I'm going to go over parkours to get to, you ideally want to be getting to here, rather than just running up these stairs, which is a bit slower. There's 2 ways to do this. You can do it like this, or alternatively, you can jump directly from this block to here. Well, you should be building up there, but jump onto here. And then you place that block. And it's important that you mine this block because the guys can't pathfind if you don't break this block. What happens is they try to jump, whenever you have this situation, they try to jump onto this block rather than pathing around this way. So you have to break this block for them to be able to jump up. Now this pretty much a very similar thing happens down here. These guys like to jump right here and try to get up rather than going around. So it's helpful if you break this block so that they can just jump up and run. Alright, so I'm going to show the beginning of a modern treasure route in action. So there's no crossbow guys here, except for that guy. So I'm going to punch him, jump up, and break that block. Now, ideally, you don't want to be punching a guy that's that is that close to the ramparts because it'll aggro everybody that's in the ramparts. So what you want to do is if a crossbow guy's coming from here, that's who you want to punch. So let's see if I can get a crossbow guy. No crossbow guy. So let's say this guy were a crossbow guy, I punch him. And actually, I can show you what happens when we punch a sword guy. So he's still aggro. There's a guy that's still aggro on me. He didn't show it this time. But there was a guy that's still aggro on me, and if you punch a guy, he won't actually get distracted by gold. So I don't know if that was him, but you could have seen. Anyway, let's get into the routes. First route I'm going to go over is Crookst Boomer. You want to save 1 gold block, only break down units and ingots. And when you break this block, you want to immediately place a gold block after, throw down an ingot, break through, place 2 blocks, throw down an ingot, and do a setup like this. Now I'm going to explain each part of it in just a minute, but right now I'm just showing you the route. So that was pretty much the basics of the route. So now into the details. So I'll pause briefly when I get to a part that I want to explain. Alright, first part. That block right there, that's called the Danny block. Now what happens is piglins try to jump here, it's the same situation as I explained earlier, rather than running around. So you want to break this block, and a lot of people are breaking it and then placing the gold right here. There's nothing wrong with this, it's just not quite as optimal as instead placing it right here. The advantage with placing it here is that piglins, they can't see, some of them can't see you here, so they won't be aggroed on you because they're tier 1 locked. And B, it's a little bit simpler to break this block and just throw a gold ingot immediately rather than having to turn all the way around and then throw an ingot. It allows piglins more time to pathfind down to you and attack you before you can throw down the gold. Next thing I want to explain is after you break through here, the piglins are going to be immediately coming after you. And you want to throw the gold ingot that way. You don't want to throw it that way or straight forward. You want to throw it to the left. It doesn't have to be perfectly to the left. I usually end up doing it something like that. If you throw it over here, let's see what happens to those piglins. Where's my gold? Let's get a bunch of piglins here. So if you throw it right here, that guy just went kaboom and died. Alright. Now, one thing about the early gold block break that I will explain is just the reason for it in general. Breaking the gold block here may seem dangerous, but it's actually the safest way to go rather than avoiding that gold block breaking. Because in general we see that there's no piglins right here, right now. But in a real run situation, some time will have passed, which is going to be simulated by this. And you can see the piglins like to pile up here. So if you don't break that gold block, these guys are not aggro, and you're running up the stairs, and it's going to be a little bit hard to jump up, because these guys are going to ambush you. So if you break the gold block, you're kind of luring them out from this area. That way you can actually set up your hole pretty cleanly. Alright, now onto the hole. So, some people are doing this right now, where you place the block, throw the gold in, and then just continue breaking the blocks, and hope those piglins see the gold. If you do that, what you want to do is throw the gold to either of the left sides, the left corners. That way it's a little bit easier for them to see the gold. But what I recommend doing is placing this block, jumping up, placing this block was already there, this block here, and shifting over this corner. What this block does is it doesn't allow them to stand on this block right here, and what this block does is it prevents you from getting hit by crossbow piglins. And shifting over the hole allows piglins to go in. Now, one problem with this is when you're shifting over the hole, these piglins are trying to get down to that block. So they're trying to pathfind downwards, and they don't understand that they have to pathfind upwards to go downwards first. So what you have to do in this case is when you're hovering over the hole, they pathfind to here, and when you're not hovering over the hole, they pathfind onto this block. Right here. So, you have to toggle between standing over the hole and standing away from the hole. And I'll show you what happens when you do that. So I'll run the route again and pay attention to the details that I mentioned earlier. Yep, so, a bit unfortunate. Running it again. Alright, so you notice when I stand over the hole, those guys are getting stuck. So what you have to do is lean over them, or stay away from the hole so they pass onto that block, and then lean over the hole. And just rinse and repeat. And that's just about it. One thing I do want to go over is this is still being worked on and tested. Assuming this lava isn't here. There is a way you can speed up pathing, a theoretical way I suppose. You can place, when you're jumping from here to here, you can place this block, and then place this block. And it allows the piglins to climb up this way, which is a little bit faster, and it means you don't have to break this block. It's still being worked on, so I wouldn't recommend it, but I figured I'd just share that. And that's about it for Crookst Boomer. Now, one thing you can do with it is, that's optional, is once you've broken all these gold blocks and lured all the piglins into the hole, you can come up through here and get these gold blocks, and then go back. Or you can just high roll off one rampart and loot the chests first. And the last thing I want to mention is you have your hole here. Now if you're down here doing the chests, rather than going back up, it's quicker to place this block here, and dig 2 blocks, and all the piglins come flying down. And you can pick up their loot, throw back the gold, and that's about it. I think I'm ready to go into Lavabrain now. This is personally my favorite route. This is the one I use, because I think it's best. So I will show it off right now. You can break both of your gold blocks into ingots. And one thing I should mention is when you have a wall like this, you want to throw extra gold down. Shift over the hole while digging up, and you can dig these 3 blocks into the chest. Moving the chest allows you to sometimes get extra gold to keep them trading for a little bit longer. And for this route, it's generally better to huddle up in one rampart. For Crookst Boomer, it's a little bit different. You don't want to, or rather you can use the other rampart with a little bit less time loss. Alright, now I'm going to explain some things with the route. So you get up to here the same as you would in Crookst Boomer. You break the Danny block, and dig through these 6 blocks. Now you want to throw gold when you get to the top here, dig through these 2 blocks, throw gold, and then dig through the remaining 4 blocks. That way you're keeping them always distracted. Once you dig through these 4 blocks, you want to throw another gold. This one you don't have to pick up. Throw it and run past it. Place the lava here. I like to place a block right here. Hold on 1 second. I like to place a block right here so that I don't end up walking into the lava, because sometimes what happens if you don't place this block is you accidentally end up going onto the bottom half of the stair and you end up getting burned. So I place a block here, and then leaning up against the back of, or rather squishing yourself against the back of these 2 blocks, you break these 2 blocks and throw the gold in. Now the piglins, they can't pathfind onto this block, this block, this block, this block, this block, or that block. So they see the quickest way to get to you is around this lantern, and they end up piling up over here. Now once you go into here, they're still going to pile up over here, but as soon as you break this block and they see you're standing on this block, they go into the hole, because that's one of the basic auto funnels. If they can't get to this block, they can't get to this block, then they see the quickest way to getting to you, if you're one above the hole, is going into the hole, I guess. So yeah, you want to break these 2, break this, and make sure you're hovering over the hole so that they see, or hovering over this divot, so that they see that you're standing on this block. Then what I like to do is place this so that crossbow piglins can't shoot you. Dig up 5 blocks, and if you have remaining time, as there's still piglins pathing, you can break these 3 blocks and loot the chest. If not, you can just get out of there and go up and loot the rampart as you would. Now one thing I should mention is if you're shifting over this the drop chute, then they are still seeing that you're on that block, so they are pathing the same as they would if you were down there, meaning they're pathing into the hole. So if you can, and you know that there are piglins that aren't in the hole, you want to be shifting over this block while breaking the gold, and you can even reach these golds while shifting over that block. So with that in mind, I'll do the route again and pay attention to those details. Lost that gold. the route. Next route I'm gonna move on to is middle dip. This is Sichi's favorite route, at least as far as I know. I don't want to quote him on that, or misquote rather. But I will show you how it works. So you can break both gold blocks down into ingots, or you can break just one. That's unfortunate. I will do it again. So once you get the hang of this route, it's actually not as bad as I'm making it look. It's much safer, I will mention, if you break both gold blocks down into ingots. Oops, I accidentally, so I see what happened here. I'm going to try it one last time. You want to make sure that you're throwing the gold into the hole, not outside of the hole, as stupid as that sounds. Go and miss. Alright, so there's a few things I'm going to explain. First of which is, when you get up here, you want to throw all your gold down. This keeps all the piglins distracted while you break these two chests, set up the hole, and break these two blocks. Now I'll explain what breaking each of these two blocks does. The first one is this one. If you don't break this block, piglins like to stand here, they jump, thinking that they can get to you, not realizing that the stupid piglins can just climb up the stairs. So when you break this block, they can just jump up. Second of which is this block. It's a very similar situation as we've mentioned earlier. Sometimes the piglins, even though they can't come up this way, they still go this way, even though it's the same distance, and try to jump up, not realizing they can't. So you break this block, and they can get to you. Now, once you break these blocks, you want to make sure that you pick up your gold. That way they're not just throwing a bunch more loose trades. And as soon as you can, place either this block, this block, this block, this block, this block or these 2 blocks. That way it blocks them off, and you can stand here or up there, break these 2 blocks, and throw whatever gold you have into the hole. And since you're shifting over the hole, they will pathfind into the hole. Now, when you're breaking the other gold blocks, you want to stand up here while you're breaking these gold blocks so that any late piglins will still pathfind into the hole. So with those details in mind, I'm going to run the route again. This one you have to do, the faster you do it, the safer you're making it. One other detail I'll mention in just a minute. So actually you want to place these 2 blocks as well so that it's a little easier to throw, but when you're jumping from here to here, if you're shifting over this hole as far as you can, jumping up to this block can be problematic. If you try and walk forward and jump, if you're angled the slightest bit to the right and you try and walk forward and jump, it sometimes works, but sometimes that'll happen. As much as you think you're doing it correctly, it won't work. So what I like to do is, if I'm right here and I need to jump up, I stand to the right a little bit, hold forward, and then jump. And it works pretty well. One general thing I'm going to mention that I forgot to mention earlier in the video is the piglins are standing here on this block. You don't want to be standing right here. You want to be hovered over the edge of the block. That way they pathfind down to here. On to the last route. The last route is a bit of a newer route, so it's still in development a little bit, but I think it's safe to use in runs. And it's for when you're coming up from the top. So, I will showcase the route. And really, you should be placing it here instead. And then you throw down gold. Block this off similar to as you would in Boomer. Place that block there or dig down block. And now, once you aggro, there should be guys coming up from there. Oopsies. Do that again. So again, this route is still in development. I'm still testing things with this route. Actually, the route idea was by Pranav. So, I will leave all credit in the description. And now what you want to do is break this block. And you have to aggro them. And these guys pathfind down this way. Oops. Right there. Alright, so I'm going to explain the route rather than just keep trying it aimlessly. I'm still new to this route as well. Anyway, you break these gold blocks, aggroing any guys from below. And they come up the stairs. You want to keep breaking gold blocks until a few guys come up the stairs. Or just one. You want to place these 2 blocks here and these 2 blocks here. Throw down an ingot. Break that block. Place that block. And when you're standing over here, they just walk into the hole willingly. So it's pretty nice like that. That's about it for the route. It's a pretty simple route. And it's pretty good, actually, for when you're entering from the back. That's about it for treasure. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to go over. Nope, I don't think there is. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. And stay tuned for more videos in the future on bridge, housing, and stables, as well as a general Bastion routing video that'll explain some things like Piglin pathfinding, and just Bastion identification, auto funnel holes, stuff like that. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.